Earlier today, I issued a challenge to the leaders of my state legislature, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and State House Speaker Dade Phelan. Let me start by saying that last year, the U.S. Supreme Court, in their ruling under Dobbs versus Jackson, which overturned the precedent of Roe versus Wade, in their ruling, they stated that the dispute of the right to abortion would be returned to the states so that the people and their elected officials would be able to resolve it. Well, since then, a lot of conservative states have passed abortion ban type laws. The question that's being asked is, did these conservative states follow or take into consideration the views and opinions of their constituency? I believe that that was the clear intent of the U.S. Supreme Court when they issued that ruling and those precise words in Dobbs versus Jackson, was to allow the dispute to be settled by Americans nationwide and their elected representatives. Because they probably knew of the division between both parties and how polarized they truly were. That's the reason that I issued my challenge today. I'm challenging, and I'm starting with my state legislature here in Texas. I am challenging them to create 3 referenda to be put on a ballot for the voters in my state to vote and make their voices heard. I issued 3 specific challenges for 3 specific referenda to be put on a ballot to be voted. The first one was to allow voters to decide whether there should be adequate measures of gun regulation and or red flag laws to prevent mass shootings and other gun violence that has so drastically occurred nationwide and in our state of Texas. We have gone through Santa Fe High School. We have gone through the El Paso shooting. We have gone through Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. I believe Texans need to make their voices known with respect to these mass shootings, these tragedies that have occurred in our state. The second referendum challenge was for voters to decide whether abortion laws needed to be preempted or modified to allow for unusual circumstances such as miscarriages, where doctors and emergency rooms should have the flexibility to treat pregnant women who suffer these complications and not be scared about breaking laws in the process. The third referendum challenge that I made to my leaders in my state legislature was to allow voters to decide who should determine the correct medical decisions for Texans. Should it be Texans? Should it be legislators? Or should it be experienced medical professionals who are certified to make those type of decisions? 3 specific scenarios where I believe that we as Texans need to make our voices heard. The same can be said nationwide. I believe our legislators, if they are so utterly confident that they are doing the will of the voters, they should have no issue putting these referenda on the ballot for a vote. I challenge them to do it. The only reason they wouldn't is if they know for a fact that they're not completely following the will of the voters and that they're promoting their own political agenda. Hence the reason this needs to be done. We need to see where our legislators stand versus where we as citizens, where we as Texans stand on these issues. It has never been as urgent as it is now. I challenge my state legislature. I challenge them to find the testicular fortitude to put these referendi on the ballot and put them out for a vote statewide so that our Texans may make their voices and their opinions heard. It's the right thing to do. It's what the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the state to do in Dobbs versus Jackson. The fact of the matter that the only state that actually followed the instructions of the Supreme Court was Kansas. And I salute them for that. Texas should man up and do the same. Each state of the 50 states of this great country should step up and do the same. That's why I'm calling out my lieutenant governor. I'm calling out my state House Speaker. And I'm calling out my governor to do this. I challenge them. I dare them to do it. I dare them. Because I know that if I don't push them, it's not going to get done. Because they don't have the balls to do it. I challenge you, Greg Abbott. I challenge you, Dave Phelan, and I challenge you, Dan Patrick. Put these referendum on a ballot for Texans to vote. Grow a set. Man up. Do it. I double dare you. Texans want to speak. I dare.